Hello my dear friends, hope all of you are doing well by keeping yourself safe. So today in this video I will discuss on the topic of interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. So without any delay, let's begin. So the topic is interaction of light with matter. So let's discuss some equations first. So this is the basic electrodynamics equation before Maxwell. We can see the four sets of equations. The divergence of E is equal to rho by epsilon naught. The divergence of B is equal to 0 as B is called as a solenoidal vector. The curl of P is equal to minus of del B del T, and the curl of B is equal to mu 0 J. And there is the Maxwell corrected sum of these equations. So electrodynamics after Maxwell, what it becomes? Divergence of E remains the same, rho by epsilon naught. Divergence of B remains the same as 0. Curl of E is equal to minus del B del T, and curl of B is equal to mu 0 J plus mu naught epsilon naught del E del T, where we can write it like mu naught Jc plus Jd, where Jc is called the conduction current density and Jd is equal to epsilon naught del E del T. It is called the displacement current density. Now the Maxwell's equation in matter, if in the matter the electromagnetic radiation, how it behaves. So we can also get four different type of equations. So it is like divergence of D is equal to rho f, where D is called the displacement vector. The divergence of B is equal to 0 as like before. Curl of P is equal to minus of del B del T, and curl of H is equal to Jf plus del D del T, where we can write the total current density as the Jf plus Jb plus Jp, where Jf is the current density for the free charge, Jb is the current density for the bound charge, and Jp is the current density for the polarization charge. And here we can write it Jf plus we can write Jb as curl of M, where M is the magnetization vector, plus del P del T. P is the polarization vector for Jp. And the displacement vector can be written like D is equal to epsilon naught E plus P. So this is the Maxwell's equation in matter. Now we can see the curl of P, we have the relation minus of del B del T. So we can write B is equal to mu naught times H. So it becomes curl of E. Now so it becomes minus of mu naught del H del T. If I taking the curl to the both side, curl of P, it becomes minus mu naught del del T of curl of H. Now if I put the expression value of curl of H, what it becomes? Minus mu naught del del T of Jf plus epsilon naught del E del T plus of del P del T. So curl of E plus mu naught epsilon naught, I take the term mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E by del T2 in the left side. So it becomes curl of E plus mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E by del T2 is equal to mu naught del Jf by del T minus mu naught del 2 P by del T2. And we also know that E and B satisfies the relation like curl, this is the grad square E is equal to mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E by del T2. This is the plane wave equation, and grad square B is equal to mu naught epsilon naught del 2 B by del T2. So E and B both are the solution of the normal plane wave. So from there we can get the value of the expression of the C, the velocity of the light in vacuum. So it becomes C is equal to 1 by mu naught epsilon naught. And we can also define two quantity like K is equal to epsilon by epsilon naught, where K is called the relative permittivity, and Km is equal to mu by mu naught, where mu naught, this is Km is called the relative permeability. So the speed of light in any medium, we can write it as V is equal to 1 by mu epsilon. So we can write the value of mu as Km mu naught, and we can write the value of epsilon as K epsilon naught. So V becomes, velocity of light in any medium becomes V is equal to C by under root of K Km. Then we can write the refractive index as the C by V. So it becomes under root of K Km. Then for most of the medium we can write that the Km is equal to 1. So the refractive index become under root of the dielectric constant or the relative permittivity. Now we can consider one isotropic dielectric medium where the electron are localized with atom in the symmetric fashion. So you can see from this diagram that This is the electron, this is the one atom, and when it is placed inside some electric field, the positive side gets attracted towards the direction of the electric field, and the electron cloud will get in the opposite direction of the electric field. So with the presence of the electromagnetic wave, the electron charge minus E get displaced from the equilibrium position, and we assume that capital N is the charge displaced per unit volume here. So the induced dipole moment, what it will be, small p vector is equal to minus E times the displacement x vector, and the polarization where we assume that the capital N is the charge displaced per unit volume. So the polarization vector we can write capital P vector is equal to minus N times E x vector is equal to capital N the small p vector. Now the restorating force acting on the electron will balance with the electric force. So the restoring force is equal to electric force. We can equate these two type of forces. So what is the electric force is equal to minus E times electric field. The restoring force is kx. So we can get the expression for the polarization vector like P vector is equal to N square E by k by substituting the value of x. Now the differential equation for this localized charge distribution, what it will be like, m times d2x by dt2 plus m gamma dx dt plus kx is equal to minus of EE, because the m gamma dx dt is the frictional damping term, this one, and gamma is called the specific damping coefficient. This gamma is called the specific damping coefficient, and we can take some harmonic solution of this equation. So this is our equation of motion, m d2x by dt2 plus m gamma dx dt plus kx is equal to minus of EE. This is for the restorating force. Now we take one harmonic solution like the trial solution. We can say E vector is equal to E0 vector exponential minus of I omega t, and we take the displacement also to be harmonic like x vector is equal to x0 vector times exponential minus of I omega t. So we can replace the d2x by dt2, what it will be, minus of omega square x, and dx dt is equal to minus of I omega x. Then if we replace these two values in here, we can get minus of m omega square minus m gamma I omega plus k times x vector is equal to minus EE. Then we can get the value of x vector is equal to minus EE divided by minus m omega square minus I gamma m omega plus k. Now if I replace this value of x in the polarization vector expression, so what it becomes, the polarization vector comes n square E divided by minus of m omega square minus I gamma m omega plus of k. So we can understand that the polarization has a significant frequency dependence. You can see the polarization vector depends on the omega. Now if I divided both numerator and the denominator by the m, so what it becomes, the polarization vector P vector is equal to n square divided by m times E vector divided by omega 0 square minus I gamma omega, where I define omega 0 square is equal to k by m is the resonant angular frequency. So this omega 0 corresponds to that of a single harmonic oscillator, and at omega is equal to omega 0, the polarization vector will take the maximum value with most perturbation for the electron. So we have from the relation again that previously I have written the relation that curl of E plus mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E by del T2 is equal to minus mu naught del JF by del T minus mu naught del 2 P by del T2, where P is the polarization vector. So inside the dielectric, if there is no free charge, then JF is equal to 0. So the curl of E plus mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E by del T2 is equal to minus of mu naught del 2 by del T2. So I have written the value of the polarization vector from here. So it becomes del 2 by del T2 times n square by m times the electric field divided by omega 0 square minus I gamma omega. So now you can see for some localized charge density we have the divergence of D is equal to rho f. So rho f is equal to 0. It means epsilon naught divergence of E plus divergence of P is equal to 0, because D is equal to, in this relation I have put that D is equal to epsilon naught E plus P. So for some spatial uniform media, as we all know that the polarization is uniform, So divergence of P is equal to 0. It means divergence of E is equal to 0 from here. So in the left hand side, that curl of P, it becomes minus of grad square E. So if I put the value of curl of P as minus of grad square E here, so it becomes that minus of grad square E plus this equation becomes minus of grad square E plus mu naught epsilon naught del 2 E by del T2 is equal to minus of n mu 0 E square by m times n mu 0 E square by m times 1 by omega 0 square minus I gamma omega times del 2 E by del T2. So if I take this term in the right hand side, so grad square E is equal to mu naught epsilon naught times 1 plus n square by m epsilon naught times 1 by omega 0 square minus I gamma omega whole multiplied by del 2 E by del T2. So we can take the trial solution of it like so. We can see some trials. Then this is the equation. Grad square E is equal to 1 by c square. We can write mu naught epsilon naught as 1 by c square. So it becomes grad square E is equal to 1 by c square times 1 plus n square by m epsilon naught times 1 by omega 0 square minus I gamma omega whole multiplied by del 2 E by del T2. So we can take the trial solution like E vector is equal to E0 vector times exponential I kz, where kz is a propagation vector but I assume it to be a complex one, kz complex times z minus of omega t. So now if I put this value of the electric field in this equation, we have the relation kz square is equal to omega square by c square times this factor. So now as I have already chosen that kz to be a complex one, I can write kz is equal to this is the real part of the kz plus I of alpha e, where alpha e is the imaginary part of the kz. So now if I put this value of the kz in this electric field solution, electric field expression, what I can get that E vector is equal to E0 vector times exponential minus of alpha e z times exponential I kz z minus of omega t. So this alpha e, I can define it like this is the extinction index, and this represents the exponential decay of the electric field into the medium, this extinction index. And now I define that alpha is equal to twice of alpha e. I define one new quantity alpha which is 2 times the alpha e, what is the extinction index. So this alpha is defined as the absorption coefficient, where this alpha has the dimension of 1 by length, and this alpha determines the amount of the energy absorption that occurs within each interval of distance the electromagnetic beam penetrates into the specific material. Now the complex wave vector kz, it means there is also the complex refractive index, the n. So the complex refractive index I define it as the capital N, which is eta plus I kappa, and this is the relation between kz and the n. It means the complex wave vector and the refractive index. So kz complex is equal to omega by c times refractive index complex. So now we can both equate the both sides. So the complex kz means kz plus I alpha e, where alpha e is the extinction index we have already defined, is equal to omega by c times eta plus I kappa. So kz equal to omega eta by c and alpha is equal to omega kappa by c. So the electric field expression becomes electric field is equal to E0 times exponential minus of omega by c kappa z times exponential I omega eta by c z minus of omega t. So now from this relation kz complex is equal to omega by c n complex, if I square the both side, the magnitude of kz square is equal to omega square by c square times magnitude of n, capital N, this is the complex refractive index, its whole square. So omega square by c square times this factor is equal to omega square by c square times eta square minus kappa square plus twice I eta kappa. Now from this side square I have cut the omega square by c square. So this becomes that equating the real and the imaginary part, I have got that eta square minus kappa square is equal to 1 plus n square by m epsilon naught times omega 0 square minus omega square divided by omega 0 square minus omega square its whole square plus gamma square omega square, and twice eta k is equal to n square by m epsilon naught times gamma omega divided by omega 0 square minus omega square its whole square plus gamma square omega square. So now at resonance frequency, when omega is equal to omega naught, we can see that eta square minus kappa square is equal to 1, and 2 eta kappa is equal to capital N square divided by m epsilon naught gamma of omega 0. And now from this expression we can get the kappa is equal to n square divided by m epsilon naught gamma omega naught times 2 eta. Now I replace the value of kappa in this expression. I replace the value of kappa in here, so it becomes eta square minus of this quantity its whole square is equal to 1. So it becomes eta to the 4 minus of eta square minus of n square divided by twice m epsilon naught gamma omega naught its whole square is equal to 0. So from here I can get this value of the eta. Eta square is equal to half plus minus half under root of 1 plus n square divided by m epsilon naught gamma omega naught its whole square. So you can see at the very high frequency the real part of the refractive index tends to unity. So at the high frequency the eta value tends to unity. So now you can see the variation of the eta and the kappa with the omega. So this is the variation of the eta and the kappa, the both real and the imaginary part of the diffractive index with the omega. So at omega is equal to omega naught, the eta becomes 1, and so it behaves like this. And this is the variation of eta with omega. It is called the dispersion curve, and this is the variation of the imaginary part of the diffractive index, that is kappa, with the variation of the omega. So if the kappa peaks at omega is equal to omega 0, and when omega is less than omega 0 or omega is far greater than omega 0, so it gets decayed. So now the graph shows the typical behavior of the real and the imaginary part of the refractive index with the frequency. The variation of the eta versus omega, it is called the dispersion curve. And now the dn d omega is equal to 0, while the dn d omega, the slope of the, so you can see from here, so when the dn d omega is greater than 0, it is called the normal of dispersion. So it happens mostly for the IR, visible, and the UV region. And when the slope of the eta versus omega curve, that is dn d omega, less than 0, it is called the anomalous dispersion. So this occurs in very narrow frequency region. In the real materials, the electrons interact with more than one binding site, and this is analogous to the mass attached to one or more separate spring with different spring constant. Now if we assume that the electron clouds gets disturbed, we may have more than one resonant frequency, and sum of the total oscillator strength, that is sum over j fj, is equal to 1. So when the electron cloud gets disturbed and we are getting more than one resonant frequency, this is a measure how easily particular oscillator mode or frequency can be activated compared to one another. So we can write the n square, the refractive index whole square, is equal to 1 plus n square divided by m epsilon naught sum over j all such these oscillations, sum over j fj divided by omega j square minus of omega square minus of I gamma j omega. So now you can see the summation is all over the participating electron and all of their individual interactions that led to the oscillation. This summation is. Now you can see the variation of the eta and the kappa over the frequency range. So this is the variation of the eta with the omega, and this is the variation of the kappa with the omega with the frequency range. So this is the IR range, this is the visible, this is the UV, and you can see this is the variation of the kappa with the omega. So this is the material with the absorptive features of several different frequencies across the specimen. You can see several different frequencies. Now if within any frequency range, if the gamma is small, the specific damping coefficient, if we assume that in some specific frequency range the specific damping coefficient is small, so it can be neglected, the gamma can be neglected, and the refractive index, the refraction index is getting a real value. So eta square, the capital N square, is equal to eta square, so it becomes 1 plus capital N square by m epsilon naught times sum over j all such oscillations times Fj divided by omega j square minus of omega square. And you can see that the diffractive index as a function of the wavelength instead of the frequency. So you can see this is the function, there is no frequency part, so it is independent of the frequency and it is dependent on the wavelength. So this formula, it is called the Sellmeier's formula. So my friends, I am concluding my discussion here. Please do follow, like, share and subscribe our channel Invisible Threads. Stay safe and thank you.